Hello everyone, welcome back to another VR inspection video. Today we're taking a look at Space Pirate Trainer. This is a wave-based shooting game where we're going to be shooting down enemy drones that are going to appear in a 180-degree radius and will attack us from any of these forward directions as well as above. So first off, looking at the control interface, what we have is some guns. So we got these two pistols. Typical controls, as you can imagine. The grip buttons don't do anything. Pulling the trigger fires. But the really cool thing is pressing the touchpad button brings up this menu over top of the gun, which lets us choose the firing mode for the weapon. The top option is single shot, so every time I squeeze the trigger, it fires. The second option here, signified by the two bullets, is a semi-automatic firing, which shoots 3 bullets per squeeze. Third one is a full auto. The fourth one is a charge shot, where I need to hold down the trigger, and then releasing it will fire a laser. And you can see the amount of energy that the gun has on the back here. And the final one is a constantly firing laser beam. Now, each time you shoot, it drains some of the energy here, and once you reach the end of that, your shots will either not work or they will do less damage. The UI for the game is pretty standard as far as World Space UIs go. You point at the buttons you want to press and it highlights. It's important to note the laser pointer that I have active right now is a feature of the single shot gun. So, if you need help aiming or pointing at the UI, that can be a helpful indicator. So from left to right here in the UI, we've got our leaderboard, which shows global online leaderboards as well as your local scores that you've achieved. And you can switch back and forth between the daily scores, weekly, all-time, whether you're looking at a global list or only a list of friends that you have that have played the game. In the center, we got your typical credits and thank you for supporting the game message. And on the right over here, we've got start game, options, and quit, which do as they indicate. As far as options go, there is an interesting feature of this game. In addition to using the two guns, you can put your hand behind your back and pull it back out to get a shield. And the shield will reflect bullets. Not in training mode, I'll show that off when we get to the actual game. But in addition, you could hold down the trigger and release to send out a pulse, which will knock enemies back. Part of the options here is pressing the grip button to manually grab the shield. Whereas normally you just put your gun behind your back, or rather over your shoulder, and it'll switch from the gun to the shield. And actually you can go behind your back lower as well. You don't need to go over the shoulder. Though it does seem like there is a certain time threshold the gun has to be behind your back to switch, and vice versa. I'm assuming that using the grip button to manually indicate changing the shield would be useful for people that shoot over their shoulder or behind their back or anything like that. And it's just a theory. I'm not good enough to do that, that's for sure. Standard graphics quality, good or better. We got this barrel angle, which changes the rotation of across the controller's x-axis for how high up the firing is. So you can see as I kind of slide from over here, my laser on the far left, my laser sight is now aiming further down than it was before, and alternately as I go to the right, it's kind of getting higher up. And this is actually a good way to gauge, what do you think is the appropriate aiming mechanic? I think around this 112 is actually good. And sights is just for changing the type of sight you can see right here. So right now it's got the 3-dot sight, and if you look here, you can see the holographic reflex cross. So let's see. without further ado, let's go ahead and run through a game or two. So you can see we have these white drones pop up, and after a second or two they will start shooting at us. So actually let's get down to only one of these guys hanging out. So you can see right now he's just moving around in a random pattern, and that lighting up indicates that he is about to shoot. And also you can see that once he does shoot, the time seems to slow down as the bullets get closer to the player. That'll allow you to sidestep out of the way or dodge. In addition, you can actually interrupt the enemy shooting you by shooting it first during its charge-up phase. Now, another cool thing to note is when you get shot, you can see an indicator in the world space as to what direction you got shot from. That can be really helpful for letting you know when you have, maybe there's a blind spot you're not accounting for, or whatever the scenario is. It kind of help you correct your positioning. I said before I was going to show you the shield as well. So the shield does this push, which will knock an enemy back. In addition, bullets will reflect off of the shield. Something funny, you can actually shoot yourself. I thought you could. There we go. Yeah, so you can shoot yourself if you shoot the inside of the shield. For some reason, the single fire goes through it. That's interesting. I wonder if that's on purpose. So you can actually do a little fun with physics. Use the reflection. So let's give that another go, since we're playing around and lost. So it's interesting the different uses that the weapons can have. The laser is really good for interrupting enemies' attacks. Whereas it doesn't actually do that much damage, so it can be hard to actually kill enemies with it. Yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a fun little game. Got your, traditional initial entry, your local leaderboard. Obviously, I'm not very good at the game. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I mean, personally, I think the most interesting feature is the gun itself. The UI interface that they put on top of the gun to indicate which weapon type you're using, the energy meter on the weapon. Oops. Shoot yourself and degauss the UI on purpose. The aiming reticle, just this kind of use of virtual reality as a using world space to identify information rather than, having something like a floating HUD or, some other indicator just floating there. Like, I think that's really the most interesting and best kind of lesson to take away from it. Also, something before we close out, I just wanted to point out the environment is really cool too. Like, there's a lot actually going on here. Like, if you didn't notice, there's this battleship up here that's kind of just floating by, and I think that loops every couple minutes or so. It adds a little bit more motion to the surrounding world. Stuff you don't really get from just looking at the skybox. We got these asteroids floating around for some reason over here. And what's really interesting is this advertisement, I guess, platform or satellite is actually advertising other VR games on Steam. I do wonder if that's if that's something they hard-coded in with the images, or if that's actually reading off of some Steam RSS feed or something like that. And behind us here we have our, I guess we're on a landing platform. This is our ship that we're trying to protect. Not quite sure. Yeah, it's a really cool game. Not really much more to say than that. Like, it is pretty basic, right? You just kill the enemies in waves and get the high score. It's simple, but it's fun. So, anyways, without further ado, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care.